What is up, peeps? Okay, so today we are talking about the Works Electric Hollyburn P5 electric scooter, but it's really not an electric scooter so much as it is a monster. I don't know. It's not an electric scooter. It's more like a motorcycle or some sort of off-road power sport machine, and I think the company recognizes that, and that's why they call their electric scooters Rovers instead of electric scooters. And again, this model right here is the Hollyburn P5. I've had this thing for about 4 or 5 months now, and I've put nearly 1,000 miles on this machine. I have abused it past the point of absurdity. I've gone off jumps, I've gone through water, I've gone through mud, I've torn through the streets, I've cruised at 40 miles per hour, staring at cars on my left-hand side and my right-hand side and kind of getting baffled looks staring back at me. It's really just the most fun machine that I've ever ridden. It's just a beast. It's awesome. So after 1,000 miles, what I wanted to do was basically tell you guys what I've learned about this machine so far, kind of the quirks about it, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and basically just how it's performed after 1,000 miles of abuse. So let's start at the top and we will work our way down to the bottom here. So on the right hand side, you've got the twist throttle grip, which powers down all the way through here and unleashes 4,400 watts of power on command. It's pretty sweet to twist the throttle and just feel this thing rocket out from underneath you. On the right hand side, there's also the brake lever. If you depress it lightly, it activates the rear regenerative braking right here in the back. And that's actually powerful enough to stop you in most situations. It's stronger than I expected when I first got it. It's stronger definitely than most electric vehicles. However, if you do need to stop more quickly, you can depress the brake further and it will activate the front 180 millimeter disc brake. So if you do have to stop in a hurry, squeeze the brake hard and it will stop on a dime. In fact, it'll stop so hard that if you don't brace for it, you'll actually endo, which is something that I've almost done, but something you definitely don't want to do. If you keep going down on the right-hand side of the stem, you'll find the key ignition. That's how you turn the Hollyburn on. And then right below the key ignition is going to be the switch that turns on the front and rear running lights. So in the front, we've got 2 white LEDs, and in the back, we've got 2 red LEDs. So they're bright enough to basically let you be seen by other cars and other people, pedestrians on the road at night, but they're not really bright enough to illuminate your way. So that's why I've got 2 of these aftermarket really powerful headlamps. These are called Bright as Day. They're each 5,000 lumens. They're super bright. I've affixed the batteries right here on the stem, and I'm using RAM mounts to keep them stable. These RAM mounts are awesome. They're really affordable, and they're the only mounts that I have found that will keep these lights in place, because anytime you go over a bump or go off-road, those lights, they go everywhere. They don't stay where you put them, but with the RAM mounts, they get locked into place. So that's really cool. The stem itself is made from cold rolled steel, so it's really stable and really durable, which is what you want. I mean, there's so much torque being put on this stem just because of the fulcrum point being so low when you go off-road and stuff. I mean, this thing needs to be really durable. And if you keep going down, you'll see this head assembly right here. This is a 3-point head assembly, and this is also a really beefy piece of machinery right here. So there's 2 bolts on each side that when you tighten them down, it tightens these clamps that hold the stem in place. And then just as a backup, as an extra precaution, there's these 2 pins that go right through the middle of the headset assembly, and that keeps everything locked nice and tight, just in case anything weird happens and for some reason these clamps do fail. Going down a little bit further, we've got these awesome 14-inch pneumatic Knobby tires. Now there is also a street tire version available if you guys want that. The Knobby tires are really good for off-road. When you're on road, you keep them at about 12 psi, and then when you go off-road, you lower them to about 8 psi. And that gives you a nice kind of spongy feel. It acts almost like shock absorption when you're going off-road, so it's really nice. I will say the only drawback to having the Knobby tires on is that when you're going on the street, it does make a little bit of noise. I mean, it's kind of loud compared to a normal electric scooter. The motor itself was really quiet, but the tires, these knobby tires, they make a lot of noise. So if you think you're going to be spending most of your time on road and not really taking this thing on trails and stuff, I would say probably go with the street tires, because you can still go off-road with the street tires. You just can't go as extreme as the knobby tires. Now, on the other hand, if you do plan on going off-road a lot, you're probably going to want to stick with the knobby tires, because it just, again, they really act as a shock absorption system, and they perform well on road as well. But they're just at home off-road. I mean, this thing with these tires on it, it lives for the off-road. So this whole chassis is made from aluminum, but there is steel structural inlays on the high stress points, so it's really lightweight, and yet it's also really strong, which is awesome. The curb weight on this thing is only 86 pounds, which really isn't that bad for a vehicle of this size and for a vehicle that performs like this. So the deck is 15 inches wide by 53 inches long, and the vehicle is 46 inches tall. Moving on to the back of the deck, right about here is where the motor sits, and this is the massive 4,400 watt motor, which is just so ridiculous. It's so huge. Right about here is the battery system. Now the batteries are really advanced. They've got this stuff called PCM technology, which basically means that they're not going to overheat, and if for some reason they do overheat, it's encased in this fire retardant material, so if for some reason these things do catch on fire, the fire is maintained in the battery box itself, so it won't spread to the rest of the machine, which is good news. Now the Hollyburn P5 has a max speed of 37 miles per hour and a max range of 28 miles. So when companies give their advertised range, 9 times out of 10, it's a lot more than what you get in the real world scenario. But I can tell you, after 1,000 miles, those stats are pretty much true and they're pretty much legit. I clocked this thing actually at faster than 37 miles per hour on more than one occasion using those little speedometer test things on the side of the road. I clocked this at about 39 to 40 miles per hour, again on a couple of occasions. And for the distance, most of the time I get anywhere from about 20 to 22 miles out of a charge. But again, I'm about a 200-pound rider. I'm always carrying like 25 pounds of camera gear with me, and honestly, I'm typically going almost full speed, and I'm going up hills and off-road and stuff. So if you were a lighter rider, if you were going to travel at a lower speed, you aren't gonna, have open throttle the entire time, I think you really could get close to the 28 miles as the advertised range says. So there are a couple accessories you can get along with the Hollyburn P5. Right here in the middle of the deck, there's a spot for a seat post. So if you want to sit instead of standing while you ride, you can grab a seat post and you can do that. For me, that kind of defeats the whole, paradigm of what this vehicle is about, which is, going fast, going off-road, jumping off of curbs. I just feel like with a seat post, you're not going to be able to do that, or at least not as easily. Now, that being said, the option is there, so if you want to take more of just a chill approach and use this as a straight commuter, then yeah, you can have a seat post. There's also some racks that you can put right here on the back, kind of like some saddlebags, stuff like that, so if you want to have extra carrying capacity, you can have that as well. And at the very end of this machine right here, we've got the belt drive. So I picked the belt drive. You can also get a chain drive for this thing. It's just, the belt is a lot quieter than the chain drive, and unless you're just going to really be pushing this thing to the absolute extremes, there's no reason for the chain drive. The advantages of the chain drive, though, is that it is more durable. You're going to be able to chew up rocks a lot easier. It's just going to spit them out. It's not even going to blink when you get to them. It is a little bit noisier, and you're going to have to do a little bit of maintenance, just lube it up and make sure that it's clean. The belt drive, on the other hand, it's basically hassle-free. You just put it on and that's it. It's good to go. And it lasts for like 10,000 miles or something ridiculous. It lasts for a really long time. Now, overall, after 1,000 miles on this machine, I gotta say, I like it more than the first day that I got it. It's just, the learning curve was really quick. It was easy to just figure out how this thing works and operates, just how it handles and maneuvers. It is different than most other electric vehicles I've ridden. It handles kind of like a mix between a motorcycle and, I don't know, something else. It feels a little bit like a dirt bike just because of how heavy it is, but you're not using the handlebars like you would with a dirt bike. It's all almost 100% leaning, and then the handlebars are almost just like a secondary thing. So it's really like a snowboard or like a skateboard type feel where you're really kind of leaning and pushing with your feet as opposed to using the handlebars to steer it all, which is a cool and interesting feeling. I dig it. Again, I've taken this thing off-road and off jumps, through back trails, through rivers and water and mud, and it eats everything up. It doesn't slow down at all. There's nothing this thing can't handle. I haven't gotten to a hill yet where I've had to get off because it's too steep. I haven't gotten to a trail yet that I haven't been able to tackle because this thing isn't powerful enough. I mean, it goes over everything. It goes up any hill. It's just a blast to ride. Now, most of the 1,000 miles that I put on this machine have been actually on road. I put maybe 150, 200 miles of actually trail riding, but the majority of it has been on the pavement. And that's because I actually use this as a commuter. Again, it's just because the deck is so wide, it's just so stable, you can travel for a really long distance and your feet don't get tired, they don't get cramped up, and you don't feel like, oh God, I have to get off of this thing. I mean, it's just a really sweet ride, and in 9 cases out of 10, I mean, I can use this instead of my car. So I mean, I'll take this thing to the grocery store. I definitely get looks when I bring it into Whole Foods or whatever. I'll take it into the gas station if I'm just grabbing something to drink. I mean, really anywhere within like a 15-mile radius of my house, I'm taking this thing instead of car because number one, it's a lot more fun, and number two, it's just like more economically friendly. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why I really appreciate this vehicle, is because it can be used as a commuter. And I think for a lot of people, that's kind of the paradigm that this is going to reflect for them. I think a lot of people are going to want to use this as a commuter, as a replacement for their vehicle in as many situations as they can, and this thing can fulfill it. Overall, I really dig it. I have no complaints about it. I haven't had any issues. After 1,000 miles, the only real wear and tear that I've seen on the machine is going to be on the rear tire. I mean, I've got, you know, the knobs are kind of worn down. I think in another 500 miles of road use or so, it probably stands to be replaced. The front tire is actually in pretty good shape still. I mean, I would say another 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles, maybe even this thing still would be all right. Surprisingly, even after all of the abuse that I put this thing through, there's no other issues mechanically, structurally, or otherwise that have arisen out of it. I mean, yeah, I got some racing stripes here on the side. The underbelly is pretty scratched up. There's a few, you know, sizable gouges, and that's because, you know, I have gone over some pretty huge rocks, and I've even wrecked it a couple of times, but, you know, there's been no ill effects whatsoever. In the future, there's a few things I would like to see added to the subsequent models. So to start, I really want to see an integrated lighting system that's actually powerful, like maybe into the stem or something. You know, again, we've got these running lights here, but they're not really enough to illuminate your path. They're not enough to let you see where you're going. But if you had something right in the stem, like a nice 5,000 lumen headlamp, that would be pretty sweet. I think also because it goes so fast, it would be kind of cool to have you know, some turn signals or some brake signals. This thing hauls, and I just think that because of the max speed of this, it would be nice to have some turn signals. So if you want to ride it on the streets, if it's legal in your area, you can, you know, actually change lanes and you can use turn signals, and it's just a lot easier. It'd also be cool if there was brake lights, so when you hit the brake lever, you know, maybe like a red LED bar in the back right here would light up, and it would let people know that, hey, I'm slowing down, please don't hit me. One other thing I'd like to see added in the future is like a heads-up display, or just one centralized area where all of your information is kept. So your max speed, your current speed, how many miles you've gone, your odometer, your tripometer, stuff like that. I mean, it could be put right there on the top of the stem, and it could be hooked right up into the battery. It would barely drain anything. I just think that at this point, like with how advanced all this stuff is getting, I think every electric vehicle really needs to have just that integrated HUD system. Like, why would we not be able to know, why should we not be able to know how fast we're going? Like, why should I have to use my phone and use an app to say, oh, how fast I'm going, 38 miles an hour, okay, whatever. Like, it would just be cool if there was something integrated right there. I could glance down at it and I could have all the information right at once. Other than that though, I really don't have any major complaints. There's nothing I would change about the Hollyburn. I'm just really happy with it. I put 1,000 miles on it, and honestly I plan to put probably at least 1,000 more on it. So that concludes our Hollyburn P5 1,000 mile update review. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I've really liked riding the Hollyburn P5, and honestly I love talking about it. I will explain all this stuff to anybody who's willing to listen. It's just, there's just so much to talk about with this thing. I could really go on for probably hours. So I will wrap it up here, but if you guys have any questions about this machine, just drop them in the comments. Let us know. We will get back to you as soon as we can. And if there's a particular electric vehicle that you really want to see a review on, let us know as well. Drop a comment, and we will try to get that going for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a comment, please like it, please sub, and yeah, that's about it. Thanks again for watching, and have a good day.